have enough light, what should happen? Auto ISO. I had one job to do today. Hi everyone, welcome to Pal to Tech. Today we're talking about two settings on the Fujifilm camera that have often confused my viewers. The first one is most often used with one of these. Let's say you are shooting in manual flash mode, okay? And you're in a very dark room. Look at that, pretty dark. I can't see anything in there. I can't preview the image. I am now officially mad, bad, and sad. So here's how to fix that problem. Go into the menu, into the wrench, into screen setup, preview exposure white balance in manual mode. Do you see that there? Go ahead and turn that off. Now have a look at that. You can use that while you're shooting in manual mode using a flash. It is very helpful for dark situations where you can't see anything in the viewfinder or the LCD screen. Just don't forget to turn it back when you're done. Now the second setting is actually more confusing in my opinion. It is called Natural Live View. And in theory, it allows you to preview your scene without the Fujifilm film simulation settings being applied. In other words, it's a natural live view of exactly what you're seeing without any camera processing being done to the image. Let me show you what I mean. So normally when you're looking through the rear LCD screen or the viewfinder and you change your film simulations, look at how it changes in the viewfinder. You see that? For example, here's classic negative. Look at the color chart right there, but watch what happens when I switch it to Eterna. You see that? Or bleach bypass. Now, if you go into your settings, under screen setup, there's a choice called Natural Live View. Go ahead and turn that on. Now watch what happens. When I switch from Velvia to standard to bleach bypass, look at that. No difference. You see that? It's the Natural Live View, right? However, and this is part of the confusion with the whole thing, you will still be able to see Acros, black and white, and the sepia tone film simulation. It doesn't hide all of them. Check this out. Okay, I'm moving through it. No difference, no difference, no difference, but watch this. Look, I got to Acros, it went to black and white. Look at that. Sepia, there it is right there. Even though I have Natural Live View turned on, I'm still seeing the JPEG, and that can be confusing for new users. Now, according to Fujifilm, the reason they did it this way is because those three film simulations are monochromatic. And the other thing to keep in mind is that even though you are seeing a preview of those three film simulations, you won't see the additional processing that's going on in the camera, such as the highlights and the shadows and so forth. If you have Natural Live View turned on, you will only see those film simulations and only those three that I just mentioned. So why would you want to use Natural Live View in the first place? I mean, it seems to me, logically, that you would want to have your camera giving you a preview as close as possible to your film simulation, right? Well. For those of you that shoot in RAW format, you are always going to want to be manipulating your highlights and your shadows and everything else in post-production. Remember, RAW files are just image sensor data. And if you use the regular preview settings, okay, if you have it set to see the JPEG and the results of clarity and highlights and shadows and so forth, and you use a histogram, you could run into situations where you're getting an incorrect rendering of what is actually being saved to the RAW file. Remember, your camera is showing you a live view of what your JPEG would look like once it's been processed already in the camera. RAW files are just raw sensor data. But you know what? Let me show you something that'll make this really clear. For this example, I'm going to be sure that I have Natural Live View set to off. Next, just so it can be crystal clear what we're seeing, I'm going to set my live view highlight alert in my LCD screen. You see what that's doing? That is flashing and alerting me to areas where I am blowing my highlights. And just to make this demo really clear, I'm going to make some adjustments to my image quality settings. I'm going to turn up my highlights to 4 and my shadows down to -2. My shutter speed is 1/200th of a second at f f2 with ISO 400. Okay, and you can see that the live view highlight alert is blinking where I'm blowing out my highlights. Also, look at the histogram. Have a look at this. You see that? I'm clearly blowing out highlights, and I'm in Velvia film simulation. So according to the camera, I ought to turn down my highlights because the way that this particular JPEG, Velvia, is being processed and set, I will blow them if I leave the camera settings this way. Now watch this. I go into my screen setup and I turn Natural Live View on. Look at that. It's gone. Look at the histogram. That's the only change I made to the camera. I turned Natural Live View on. You see that? Remember that my preference is to shoot in RAW, so I'm going to be processing those RAW files later on. And according to the actual scene, without the in-camera processing, I'm not in danger of blowing my highlights here. I can go ahead and shoot at the 1/200th of a second shutter speed at f2 with ISO 400, and I'll get that correct exposure. But if I go back and we take a look at what the camera is doing when it's showing us its preview of the JPEG, watch this. Boom. You see that? It's blown out. And that is why you would sometimes want to use Natural Live View in your Fujifilm camera. Before we go any further, it is time to put a brand new Gear Iguana Hall of Fame member on the studio wall. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, be sure to check out paldetech.com/backstage. Let's give a huge round of applause to Jim Fielder. Jim, thank you so much. Your support means so much to me, and it really helps out the channel. Let's get you added to the studio wall. You are on the studio wall forevermore, just out of frame of the camera. Jim, thank you again so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And for the rest of you, if you have not yet checked out Paldetech Backstage, what are you waiting for? We have a private Discord server made up of a community of Fujifilm photographers. Also, each week I produce a special video just for Backstage called Coffee Time, all about the things that go on backstage, behind the scenes, and some of my rants as well. And now, back to me in the studio. Well, there you go. I hope I've been able to cut through some of the confusion with those two Fujifilm camera settings. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. I'm going to be signing off now, but I will see all of you in another video next week. Have a great weekend and take care.